Chapter 28. I Make a Bad Plan. Back at the manse, the hellhounds were just waking up. Nope, thought we smelt really interesting. I guessed that, to him, Grover's hooves smelled like my feet. My arms smelled like seafood, and Annabeth smelled like she'd been watching over two numbskulls all afternoon and had possibly turned into a bird. Gale and Hecuba greeted each other with a nose boop. It wasn't exactly a tearful reunion, but I got the feeling they were glad to see each other. Their body language seemed to say, "Yes, I'm relieved you're back. Now let us never speak of this again." Nope sniffed Gale's butt and apparently confirmed that she smelled so bad she must be part of the family. Gale danced around impatiently until Grover agreed to take her to the feeding room for a chicken carcass. I checked on the eels, who were disappointed we hadn't died, and brought our own remains home for them to eat. Which didn't make sense, but eels have their own kind of logic. Nobody else wanted lobster rolls, so we got pizza delivered instead. We sat in the great room with the animals and scarfed down 3 large pies, leaving nothing behind. Grover eyed the greasy boxes, but I suggested he try not eating them. He knew from experience his digestive tract didn't do well with cardboard. I leaned against one of the broken benches, an ice pack on my ankle. I was exhausted and wired at the same time. I wanted to enjoy the fact that we'd retrieved both of Hecate's pets. We'd even acquired a bonus puppy. That seemed like a pretty good week's work. Unfortunately, the mansion was still a wreck. Despite our best efforts with shower curtains, dustpans, and duct tape, the place still looked like somebody had driven through in a monster truck and thrown a few hand grenades. It was hard to believe all the damage had been caused by one hulked-out satyr. Then again, now that I'd experienced the joys of potion-based combat, I had a better sense of how wrong things could go. Grover seemed to follow my thoughts. "Tomorrow's Halloween. There's no way 3 people can fix this mansion before Hecate gets back. It's hopeless, isn't it?" "Hey," I said. "Halloween is the opposite of hopeless. Anything's possible on Halloween." Annabeth gave me a wistful look. I think she wanted to believe in the magic possibilities of Halloween, but the way things were going, she was doubting she'd get that perfect party she dreamed of. As for me, I meant what I said. I remembered the stories of Mr. Brunner used to tell, back when I thought he was just a cool 6th-grade Latin teacher. He would talk about how ancient the traditions behind Halloween were, how almost every culture believed there was a time when the world of the living and the world of the dead came so close that you could cross over. The world of the dead. My gaze drifted to Hecate's torches crossed over the doorway. "They should be used only in the event of an extreme emergency," Hecate had said. Chiron had been clear that the torches were too dangerous. If we tried to use them, especially on Halloween, an army of angry ghosts might tear us apart. Hecate must have left the torches as a kind of temptation, like the strawberry milkshake potion. Sure, the choice was ours, but I'd seen Gale's past now. I knew what kind of choices Hecate offered people who stood at a crossroads. And yet... "What if we could fix the house with magic?" I asked. Grover followed my gaze. "Percy, no, you said the torches—" "I know. Last resort, just spitballing here." I turned to Annabeth. "What do you think?" Her expression was as distant as ancient Greece. She hesitated so long I got nervous. If I had a bad idea, she let me know right away. But when she hesitated like that, looking all serious, well, I'd seen that expression a lot when we were in Tartarus together. It usually meant that she was thinking the same thing I was, but with more nuance, and more understanding of all the horrible ways it could get us killed. "For the sake of argument," she said, which meant, yeah, we were in serious trouble. "Let's say we tried. Hecuba, you know how to summon the dead. Is it possible we could use the torches successfully?" Hecuba barked once. I figured that meant, "Idiot?" "She says no mortal has ever tried," Grover translated. "She can't do it for us. Her undead are only good for terrorizing people. If you use the torches and lost focus even for an instant, or couldn't bend the spirits to your will, they'd destroy everyone and everything in their path. Then they would devour your soul." Once again, I was impressed how much a dog could pack us into one bark. Their novels would be like 20 woofs long. "What other options do we have?" I turned toward the staircase. "Hey, Gale, come down here a sec, would you?" A few seconds later, the polecat scurried down the steps. She was covered with flecks of raw chicken. Nope thought this was the most amazing thing ever. He began giving Gale a bath. The polecat tolerated it pretty well. While Nope was busy with chicken removal, I told Gale what was going on. "Do you think you could brew anything that would help us, like give us magical building powers? Or at least shield us from the dead if we have to summon them?" Gale seemed to think about this. She stood on her hind legs so Nope could clean her belly, which was both cute and slightly disturbing. She chattered and barked at Grover. A lot of what she's saying is really technical," he said. "About herbs and reagents and distilling methods. She says there might be some recipes in the library. It'll take her all day tomorrow, and she'll need my help." "Well, we can all help," I offered. "Except we can't," Annabeth said. "We both have tests at school tomorrow." Ugh, that school thing again. I wanted to argue that school wouldn't mean much if we died for failing Hecate, but I knew better than to try. Annabeth took our graduation plans seriously. Death was no excuse. She was determined that we would finish high school together so we could go to California and do at least 4 more years of even harder school. Who would design this system anyway? When do you get to chill on the beach and stop working? And don't tell me 67 unless you want to see a demigod cry. I reminded myself to be positive. Halloween. Anything's possible. Etc. That sucks, I said, but in a positive way. Grover sighed. I get it. You don't want to leave me alone with the animals again. What? I said. No, man, that was my I don't like school look, not my I don't trust Grover look. I don't even have that look. I wouldn't blame you if you did. He straightened. But please, let me watch the house tomorrow. I won't let you down again. Annabeth started to answer. Then she met my eyes, maybe realizing that Grover needed to hear it from me. Of course, I told him. We trust you. We trust the animals. I wagged a finger at Gale. Just whatever you cook up in the kitchen, no strawberry, okay? Gale held up a little paw and chittered. Probable translation, I solemnly swear, death before strawberries. That's settled then. Annabeth smiled, though her eyes were still stormy. Who knows? We can't summon the dead until after dark anyway. Maybe we'll come up with a better plan in the meantime. When I got back from brushing my teeth, not with cinnamon toothpaste, never again, Grover and the animals were asleep and snoring in a big pile. I looked around for Annabeth. I was worried she might be buried under that mountain of cuddles. Then I noticed our makeshift front door was open. I padded outside past the 3-door knockers, still silently and safely wrapped in their cardboard box. Annabeth stood on the sidewalk, leaning against the fence, staring back at the manse like an architect planning a job. I limped my way across the cranium stone path and joined her at the gate. The facade of the mansion still looked terrible. More gray tombstone tiles had fallen off and broken in the front yard. More windows had shattered. I guess I hadn't noticed because I'd been so busy listening to Echo Worm audiobooks. It's getting worse, I said. Annabeth nodded. How? She hesitated. Today at the perfume shop when I had the... She circled her hand over her face, the universal gesture for owlhead. I sensed things in a totally different way. It must have happened to you too. Something passed between you and Gale. You learned something. I wasn't sure how she'd guessed that, or what it had to do with the house falling down, but I told her everything she'd missed while I was at school, starting with Grover's attempt to ground himself under the army of squirrels. Annabeth shook her head. I'm gonna kill him. In a loving way. He knows, I said. Then I told her about my tentacle sucker mind meld with a ferret. She fidgeted with her camp necklace. I hadn't seen her do that since our adventure with the Canes. She turned one bead after another, as if reminding herself how many summers she had survived. Maybe it helped her believe she could survive one more day. Percy, she said. I don't give you enough credit. I blinked. I'm sorry, can I get that in writing? Maybe on a billboard? She laughed. I'm serious. You're good at understanding people, making them feel seen. And by people, I mean polecats and hellhounds, too. Thanks, I think. She took my hand. Back in Astoria when the undead touched you. You saw Hecuba when she was grieving. The moment she turned into a hellhound, yeah? I nodded. I could still hear Hecuba's anguished howls and the heavy Greek shackles around my ankles. Do you know what I saw? Annabeth said. I saw the city itself. Troy. She tightened her grip on my fingers. Your dad built those walls. Did you know that? The whole city was constructed with magic. Maybe I'd heard that story before, but it still sounded strange to me. I could imagine my dad as a bricklayer. I saw the city collapsing, Annabeth continued. Hecuba was dragged out. Her family was killed, and the magic unraveled. It's like the city's reason for existing just stopped. I could feel every column cracking, every support beam collapsing. I wanted to save the city. All those homes, temples, palaces. But I couldn't. She gave me a despondent look. You saw the people, I saw the buildings. Why is that? I didn't answer right away. The obvious thing to say was, because you're an architect in training. But I knew that wasn't what she needed to hear. She'd been sitting with this vision for a while now, and it was clearly bothering her. Maybe you saw what you needed to see, I ventured. A way to help Hecuba, and us. You read people just fine, Wisegirl, better than me, but architecture? Only one of us can do that. As if on cue, another tombstone slewed off to the side of the manse, clashing into the garden. I frowned. We're not going to come up with a better plan to fix this place, are we? Annabeth shook her head. We'll have to use the torches to summon the dead. I'll have to use the torches. Hold on. She squeezed my hand. You said it yourself. I'm the architect. But this place was built by ghosts. That's the basis of Hecate's power. I'm going to need help from someone ghostly who knows about building in Manhattan. I flashed back to the beginning of the week, when Annabeth and I had sat in her favorite cemetery near the School of Design. You're not serious. She didn't need to reply. She was dead serious. Ouch. A bad choice of words. I'll do some research tomorrow at school, she said. But, yeah, I think it's my best shot. I didn't like the way she said my best shot, like this was something I couldn't help with. I thought about her vision of Troy. Like the city's reason for existing just stopped. I looked at the black iron trellis draped around Hecate's front porch, like a huge mourning veil. I imagined I could hear the shriek of a frightened child, pedaling away down Gramercy Park West as fast as she could. I took a deep breath. I think something's been wrong with this place since long before we got here. I told Annabeth about the ghosts I've been seeing. The display in the library from Hecate's defunct school, and the collection of broken eyeglasses. What could have been. Annabeth isn't easy to surprise, but my words seemed to hit her like a spritz of paralysis by fancy water. You're saying... She didn't seem able to finish the thought. Something went wrong over a century ago, I said. Something that made Hecate close her school. Ever since this place has been losing its reason to exist. I think Grover's strawberry rampage just hurried things along. Hecate's been keeping Hecuba and Gale like prisoners, scared of them escaping. She's been pushing people away. Maybe prospective students like those 4 naiads. Like SEJ, Annabeth said. I nodded. I don't know exactly what happened, but if we're going to try rebuilding this place without the help of ghosts, or even with them, then we need to figure it out. Which means I need to talk to SEJ. Sally Estelle Jackson.